Hello, my name is Yuan Li. I worked as a PhD student with Dr. Doug Bowman at Virginia Tech. Today, it's my great pleasure to be here on behalf of the co-authors to present our paper on ARCritique, supporting remote design critique of physical artifacts through collaborative augmented reality. Without further ado, let's move on to the motivation. During the COVID pandemic, a raised demand for remote learning has merged in different disciplines. Now, some of the disciplines are less impacted from this shift, such as computer science. However, there are some majors that have intrinsic challenge in making the shift, such as design majors involving physical prototypes. We interviewed industrial design professor to based on their experience of using Zoom video conferencing tool to conduct critique remote sessions, we summarized the four existing issues that they encounter as a starting point for the ARCritique project. First, the communication tools primarily focus on sharing 2D digital artifacts. And the video calls are not enough because verbal communication only takes a subset of our communication channels. And referencing to different parts of the physical model is cumbersome, and as a consequence to that, they often use additional verbal confirmation to ensure that they can reach a spatial consensus. Based on the above observation, we propose a solution just to address the four issues. We want to design a software, a system that can share 3D content and also support easy and effective spatial communication. Based on that thought, we designed ARCritique that supports the following interaction loop. The student can start with their phone to scan physical objects, and they can obtain a virtual representation of their physical object and essentially upload it to the cloud and share with remote users, such as their professors or teammates. Then, in a shared virtual space around the model, the student can use pointing rays and drawing tools to collaboratively discuss about the physical mockup, essentially conducting a critique session that can help them improve their model design. Here is a video consisting of how the app works for scanning, displaying, and also an actual critique session.
As an older person with not or declining grip strength, I really need little bit bigger area so that I can use more than just one finger to pull in the spacing.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think another thing that's interesting, I'll draw on it. This curve here is very, very much specifically kind of shaped to be gripped in one very specific way. It does feel more like kind of being around a table in studio, right? Where we're watching it from different sides.
Yeah.
All the liquid is contained within kind of this area down here. And that does have the tendency, I think, to make it harder to get all of it out.
Yeah.
And so as long as we are redesigning the bottle in such a way that it's shaped more to be sprayed from a larger area, that might allow us also to rethink the.
In order to understand and evaluate how ARCritique can be beneficial to an actual critique session in an ecologically valid manner. We conducted an observational user study where we invited 7 students and 3 professors from industrial design major who have all experienced remote discussing their physical prototypes. Each student presents 3 mockups using ARCritique and engaging themselves in a 30-minute critique session. We took this primarily observational approach that we measured post-study interview, the questionnaires that we sent out, and also critiques. We recorded and observed the critique session. The study focused on 3 different research questions. The first 2 research questions help us to understand the existing issue of conventional remote video conferencing tools for design critique sessions around physical objects. And we asked the participants what's their experience with Zoom and what the challenges that they experienced. And we took thematic analysis. A detailed approach and the discussion is presented in the paper, but here we want to show the major takeaway from research question 1 is that the video conferencing tool has its limitation on the communication and the perception aspects, which confirms from what we summarized from the preliminary interview with industrial design professor. And also the ARCritique by design should be able to address some of that exposed issues. The second research question focuses on how well does ARCritique address the problems associated with conventional remote video conferencing tools. And the first approach that we took is to analyze the critique session videos. We focus on observing what spatial reference action did the users take. When those spatial referencing happens, did they use any of our provided tool, the pointing ray, or the drawings? And how long did those spatial referencing last? How many words did the participant take? Here is an example of the summarized data. We get the utterance from the user, count the duration in time, and count their words that they use, and also note did they use the pointing ray, or they are discussing the ray, or they are using the join tool, or they are discussing the join tool. Here is a quick visualization of the data that we got. Even with a relatively small size, we're still able to find meaningful significance to indicate that whenever the participant used the joins or the rays, they can be significantly more efficient by using less words, spending less time. Additionally, in the interview, we ask 4 features that we think ARCritique supports. The ability to view model in AR, which results in an unconstrained perspective, and the use of virtual form models to help them with collaborator awareness, and of course, the use of point array and join. Again, a detailed documentation of the results are summarized in the paper, but here, the major takeaway is that the spatial referencing tools that we present effectively make the communication more efficient and effective. And the virtual object viewed in AR itself is a huge benefit for perceptions. Now, lastly, the phone model that we used to convey collaborator awareness did not achieve the goal that we initially thought. The final research question is about what's the perceived usability of the ARCritique app as a whole. And we asked the questions in the interview scripts. The major takeaway is that the users found the overall critique experience satisfying. Well, while they think there are primary concerns with the scan in terms of using the scan as well as the model quality. And We also revealed unexpected benefit that the drawing provide under this critique context, where the instructor and the student commented that the ability to draw on the virtual model extended their discussion in a way that even when they met in person, it was not something they can easily achieve. So the final takeaway is that a good support for spatial referencing is beneficial for this type of critique discussion around the physical object. And also the virtual model quality need varies depending on the task. And the need for collaborator awareness, on the other hand, can even vary throughout the critique session. Lastly, the augmentation tools that can help beyond discussion or extend the discussion beyond the physical object is useful under this critique context. Last, here is the author's contact information. Thanks for listening.